Welcome to Behind the Scenes at the Hanover Theater. Now, here's your host, Lisa Condit.
Thank you for joining us here at Behind the Scenes at the Hanover Theater. This is Lisa Condit, and I am on the phone with Declan Crowley. Declan has the lead in Michael Flatley's Lord of the Dance, coming to the Hanover Theater Thursday, March 7th at 8 p.m. This performance is generously sponsored by Commerce Bank. And Declan, thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you. How are you?
Great. And so we were just talking a little bit before we came on the air here, and you've been touring with Michael Flatley's Lord of the Dance for quite some time, right?
Correct. Yep. Since 2009, so it's coming up on four years now.
4 years. And so how has the show changed or evolved in the last 4 years?
Well, since I joined the show, we've had a complete set and costume change. We've replaced some of the older set pieces to LED screens and new costumes for the good and evil side of the show. So it's completely revamped, looks completely new, up to date, and it's really fun to be a part of the change that's gone on in the last couple of years.
Well, that's great. So I heard that this is really your dream role. Do you want to tell our listeners what this dream role really is and what it involves?
Well, there's a Lord of the Dance, and then there's a bad guy. And I've always been partial to the bad guy role. Even since I was a little kid, I was really taken with the bad guy role, Don Dorka, the evil lord. And growing up as a competitive dancer, I was always, I guess, known as more of a masculine dancer, and as far as competing goes. So I always had this role that I'm currently performing now kind of in the back of my head, even when I was a little kid, because I saw the show when I was 6 or 7 years old, and that's why I started dancing in the first place. So
wow,
it's kind of crazy that this has come full circle for me.
Well, it's amazing. It's really a testament to the impact that arts and live performance can have on somebody in their dreams.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Now, is Irish dancing the only dance that you've studied, or have you studied other genres as well?
I haven't really studied other forms, but in high school, I did do an arts program called Young Arts through NFAA, National Foundation for Advancement in the Arts, where I was exposed to some of the best ballet, tap, jazz, modern dancers in the country when I was a senior in high school. So that was cool because they made us take workshops with other dance masters like Mikhail Baryshnikov and Alvin Ailey. And so that was cool. And that kind of did open my eyes up to just a broader performance base, which, you know, even if you're studying one or two forms, you still have to kind of take a hand from other forms as well when you're thinking about it, performing on a broader level. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
And I have here that you weren't just a minor competitor. It seems like you were a major competitor. So when did you start competing? And it looks like you've been doing that up until 2008, right before you joined the tour.
Yep. I started competing when I was about 8 years old in the late 90s, I guess it was. And I competed all the way up until the time I was 18 in 2008. And I would travel twice a year overseas to Ireland and or England and Scotland for different national championships over there as well. There's the American National Championships, which are held annually, usually in Nashville, Tennessee, at the Grand Ole Opry Resort.
Okay, wait a second. We have to stop there for a second.
Okay.
Because is Irish dancing really popular in Nashville?
It's actually, I'm not sure how popular it is there, but I'll tell you, it's a destination for all the New York, New Jersey crowd and some of the Midwest Chicago crowd that kind of want to escape the North during the summer. So
that kills me. The Grand Ole Opry.
It's getting really popular across the country now as well. Maybe not traditionally, but it's growing rapidly. So.
Oh, I'd say
kind of
so.
Cool.
And I've been to Ireland a couple of times, and it's just amazing, the dancing. And I tell you, all of the Irish boys know how to dance, which is nice.
Yeah, we hope so, at least.
And you're always popular when you know how to dance. So that's a good thing too. So what are some of the things that you had learned, from ballet and tap and jazz that really translated well to your form of dance?
Especially in the show, after my competing life, I did take a few pages out of people's books as far as head and shoulders and upper body expression, because if you know anything about Irish dancing, the stereotype is that we have our hands stuck to our sides with sometimes very minimal personality when we're on stage competing, and we're judged to see how well we can hold our arms completely still and at our sides. So, of course, in some of the roles here at Lord of the Dance, there is arm movement, and there's more theatrical performance involved than what most Irish dancers grew up competing with. So when I was watching, and they were my peers, and to this day, some of my good friends, when I was watching them, really express themselves not just with the legs, but with the entire body and face and head as well, I definitely took some of what they used and had to use in their forms and tried to integrate it in what I'm doing here as well. Just to have kind of a base to, perform with. So it was definitely really helpful.
Well, that's great. And so Michael Flatley, he's just the name of all names in Irish dancing as well. So what was it like to meet him? What were your first impressions?
I tell people that it was like meeting Derek Jeter if I loved the Yankees, which I know I shouldn't say in Worcester because there's all Red Sox people over there.
That's all right. We won't hold it against you. You're visiting us. We're hospitable, even though we're not Southerners. It's okay.
But yeah, meeting him was an absolute dream come true. Because without him, I'm not sure if I even would have known what Irish dancing was,
right,
let alone ever took up dance at all. So
right. Well, because
I really have him to thank for not only the job that I have now, but for really shaping the way my life has gone so far. Because if I didn't see Lord of the Dance on TV in 1996, I wouldn't be dancing, because my parents didn't know what it was. Even though I come from an Irish family, no one would have known what Irish dancing was. So
right,
meeting him was amazing, and it was my first tour. It was a comeback tour that he did in Taiwan in December of 2009, and I had just joined the show, and I got to meet him and talk with him a little bit, and it was just incredible.
And he has been such an influence on so many people, and I remember when, in my family, we first saw him perform, not unfortunately live, but on the TV. I remember my mother just swooning and talking about how masculine and how strong and how charismatic he was. You know what I mean? So I think I appreciate what you're saying as far as being known as a very masculine dancer, and he certainly epitomizes that for a lot of people, both male and female.
Right.
So what are some of the constant things he's telling people when they're working on his tour? As far as what corrections do you keep in mind as you're performing every day? What's really important for him, for people to get across to the audience?
I think that when we're working on as a cast and with our dance captains and things, when we're working on just making the show look as good as possible, he's constantly reminding us that we have to have the same energy and the same life every single night, night in, night out, because there's audiences that come from sometimes all over a state to come to one city, and we have to remember that it's maybe our 1,000th show, but for some little girls that are aspiring Irish dancers that are sitting in the audience, this is the first time they've seen it. So he's constantly instilling and making sure that we're projecting the same energy and enthusiasm every single night, not just, most of the time.
Yeah, that's
so he's really kind of directing us in the sense that he's making sure that we need to keep the energy and keep the enthusiasm up at all times, which can be hard when you're working, 2 or 3 months at a time every single night. But he realizes that that's absolutely the most important thing, giving the audience what they deserve every single night.
What is it like to travel on the road as part of this tour? What does an average week look like?
Average week would be about 8 shows with usually 2 shows on Saturday and or Sundays. We'll have a day off during the week, sometimes at the beginning of the week, but usually 8 shows on average. with about 2 to 3 hours of rehearsal time before each show every night.
Wow. So you really have to love it.
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Everyone that's here loves it.
Right.
And I guess that's the most fun part about the job, is that the morale level is so unusually high compared to any other job, so to speak, that it just makes being here just awesome at all times, at least for me.
That's super. So, you mentioned it's a busy schedule. You really need to keep your energy level up. I always ask people, what do you do? What's your secret for keeping that energy level high?
Well, physically at least, me and a lot of the guys here, just actually this tour, we've started a nice, grueling workout regime other than just dancing. So we're doing some upper body training with some dumbbells that will travel with a crew box.
Great.
So that, believe it or not, that actually helps a lot because it keeps you conditioned with other muscle groups other than just the ones that you're using in the show.
Right.
And, we travel with, like I said earlier, we travel with some of our best friends. So it's hard not to become a family over time. And when you're working with people that you're that close with, finding the energy every night is just truly not hard,
That's
to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had also talked a little bit before we went on the air that you have attended Holy Cross here in Worcester, Go Holy Cross, and that you're on hiatus. And you want to tell people a little bit about that, because I think that that's going to be reassuring for a lot of parents and students to hear.
Yeah. Well, I did my first freshman semester in 2009, the fall, and then I went to Feet of Flames in December after my final exams. So that was a whirlwind time for me because I was just coming into the show and I had just finished my first semester of college. So that was a crazy time for me. I did ask the show for 2010 off so that I could tour with the show, and they said yes because they granted me 1 year leave. And then I went back in 2011 and finished the spring semester in 2011. Then I started the fall of 2011 as a junior, but I was missing the show. I had heard from friends that I stayed in touch with that there were some other really cool tours being booked, and I couldn't help but try to jump on board and be a part of it again. And I was invited back by the show, and I asked Holy Cross again if they would let me go for a little while longer. And, I can't thank my dean enough for saying that. She goes, yes, we realize that this is what we want to do. This isn't just a year off. It wasn't a gap year. And she's let me go for a longer period now from the school without, necessarily leaving the college.
So you're obviously a very special circumstance.
Yes, it's a very special circumstance, but I really do have them to thank because they're holding my place, which I know is not always granted. So I couldn't thank them enough. And actually, I just found out the other day while I was here on tour that my brother, who's a senior in high school right now, is going to Holy Cross too. So we'll be there at the same time. I would have graduated this year, but I guess now we'll be there together.
Oh, you guys are going to tear it up. I can tell already.
Yep.
That's really fun. So just out of curiosity, what's your major at Holy Cross?
English.
I was a comparative literature major, minored in a credit away from political theory. You go. That's a great. Great degree. I know. So anything you want to tell people about what to expect from the show? Michael Flatley's Lord of the Dance has been here before, but this is a new production. You said some new scenery, some new staging, some new costumes. Anything else you want to make sure people know if they have seen it before or if they've never seen it and they're not sure what to expect?
Right. It's got rock and roll effects. We travel with one of the coolest sets that I've seen of any touring company. And sometimes people call Irish dancing river dancing, but this is a completely different experience from just a traditional Irish dance show. There's a lot of acting. There's a lot of scenery changes. There's 2 plot lines running at the same time with no dialogue, yet the audience completely understands what's going on. And it's kind of just an escape from a traditional play format, I guess. It really is unlike something that I've ever seen and anyone's seen really ever. It's all told through dance, but yet you know exactly what's going on at all times, and everyone, at least in the States, in the last few years that I've seen, everyone leaves standing on their feet, clapping to the music at the very end, and it's just such an upper. And I think that's why we can maintain this energy every night, because the audience reception that we get is just so uplifting, no matter how long you've been doing it, that it's just so easy to make every show the best and the best that we have.
Well, I cannot wait. I know it's going to be fabulous. Again, Michael Flatley's Lord of the Dance coming to the Hanover Theater Thursday, March 7th at 8 p.m., generously sponsored by Commerce Bank. Oh, Declan, thank you so much for calling and talking to us. And if anybody wants tickets, they can, of course, go to our website at thehanovertheater.org, or, of course, call our box office at 877-571-SHOW, which is 7469. So, Declan, can't wait to see you and all of your best friends on stage.
That's right.
And
Yep.
you travel
Thank
well.
you so much.
You're welcome. We'll see you soon.